All right, we've just taken a look at the instruments of what we would call the Western orchestra, or the kind of symphony orchestra that you would see in Europe and America and indeed around the world these days, but it has a sort of Western roots. So let's take a look now at some instruments from a completely different culture. We're going to look at Australian Aborigine music. So when you think about Aborigines, you probably don't know a whole lot because it's not really a culture that we hear a lot about. These are the native peoples of Australia, and there are actually many, many different kinds of tribes of Aborigines, much as in America we have many different tribes of Native Americans. And each of those different groups has its own set of music. They have their own songs, they have their own dances. But part of their group belief is that when the earth was formed, when people were created, that there was a power that was left at certain places, and that there are certain songs and dances that are associated with the power of that place. So every group has its own set of music that goes with that idea of the power coming from the earth. And these pieces are their sacred pieces, so they don't share those with outsiders. That's a very personal, private kind of thing. But they do have music that is performed publicly, and that would be what we would think of as their secular music, or public songs. And so that music may be used for rituals of different sorts. It may also be used just for entertainment. So if you think about instruments of Australia, probably maybe the only thing that comes to mind is the didgeridoo. So what is a didgeridoo? Well, it's a wind instrument. We might even think of it as a woodwind instrument because it's made of wood, but it doesn't really have a reed like any of the instruments that we think about. It has a mouthpiece that's made out of beeswax. I've not actually seen a mouthpiece, and I can't really quite visualize how that might work, and I haven't been able to find you a video that shows it either, but it's got a beeswax mouthpiece, and basically what it does is produce a drone sound. So like the bottom part of a bagpipe, a bagpipe has a that kind of goes along the bottom of it. So it's a drone. So the didgeridoo is made out of hollow wood, usually from a eucalyptus tree, since obviously Australia has plenty of those, and it comes in different sizes like many of the instruments that we've talked about in Western culture. So just like those instruments, the longer the tube is, the deeper the sound. So you could actually have different pitch levels within a didgeridoo. So the music that's played with a didgeridoo, you got this drone going. So what happens is that the musician vocalizes, basically. So they're doing things inside their mouth. Their mouth is closed all the time, but they're doing things with their mouth. And as you watch the video, you'll see their faces do kind of puffy things and all sorts of interesting contortions. And they can change that drone a little bit as they go. So the music is not really what we would think of as melodic. There are different pitches being changed, but they're not very much different from each other. So it's really a very rhythmic kind of thing with this drone sound. So they might also use percussion instruments while they're playing that, because they don't have any fingerings. There's no keys or holes. It's just this long tube that you blow into. So their hands are basically free, except they need to hold on to the instrument. So you can hold it with one hand and play a percussion instrument with the other, as you will see our performer doing. So anything that can be struck or shaked or rattled, we've talked about all those things, could be used as a percussion instrument. So as you watch this video of a didgeridoo player, I want you to notice the breathing. You never see him take the mouthpiece out of his mouth. So how does he do that? This is what we call circular breathing. Circular. So what happens is that they breathe in through their nose, and then the air is coming out of the mouth. And it can be done with other instruments, but it's really a specialized skill, and you have to work very hard to do that well with other kinds of instruments. But as you watch, just kind of look at him and see if you can tell when he's inhaling and letting that air come out through the instruments. It's amazing. I've seen them play like 10 minutes without ever taking anything out of their mouth, and just sort of makes me lightheaded to think about it. So go take a look now at this example of an Australian Aborigine playing the didgeridoo.